welcome back to Campus Unplugged. I'm your host, Layla.
And I'm Riley.
And today we have a very special guest.
Hi, John Metiva, Assistant Director for Transfer Admissions here at Saginaw Valley State University. Been in the position over 3 years. I'm a former transfer student myself from Delta College and excited to be here.
Nice. Well, welcome. So as you can tell today, we are going to be talking about a little bit about the transfer process. So maybe let's break down what is the transfer process.
So very similar to the process for freshman students as well. So typically speaking, our application is open a year in advance. So say you're applying for the fall semester, you can apply as soon as July 1st every single year. So you send in the application. All we need is the transcript from every college you've been to previously. So say you came from Delta College and Central Michigan University, we would need both transcripts. If you don't have a degree from either place, we would need high school proof of graduation as well, but that can come in the form of your high school transcript or a high school diploma.
Okay.
Honestly, that's the whole process. So once we have those two things, we kind of get everything going. You get your decision typically within the same week once we have the final documents. And then you would go through, again, what most students would go through with an orientation, go through financial aid, stuff like that. But the application process typically actually goes pretty smoothly and pretty quickly.
Nice. And I guess like a big question for a lot of people, I would guess, is like, how do their credits transfer?
That's the number one question usually.
Yeah.
So the fun answer is typically, it depends. So as we're going through that, the best conversation we can always have is to have a conversation in the first place. Mm-hmm. So as we're going through that, flying blind and going like, well, my credits might transfer, I'm just going to hope, that's never really the conversation we want to have. What I really recommend is reaching out to, for example, myself and transfer admissions, or reaching out to your current school. Like say you're at a community college and planning on transferring. A lot of community college advisors are prepped to help you transfer to another school.
Yeah.
But here at SVSU, we do love to sit down with students as they're coming in, check how credits do transfer.
Yeah.
And I can actually plan credits at their current school while they're at it.
Okay.
General rule of thumb, general education credits tend to transfer pretty well. So things that are pretty universal for most schools like English, math, science, every school ever has them, and they're pretty well generalized. Yeah. It's when we get into the majors that it can be a bit more different, because there's accreditations and yada, 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 and all the nitty gritty on that. But generally speaking, if your general education courses are starting with that, you're in a good spot to start. But the best thing you can do is set an appointment with us, have a conversation, and we can help you clarify what might just be visible on a website in the first place.
Okay. So let's say I'm a transfer student. Would I be on track for like graduation with like my similar class then?
So generally speaking, yes. So that's again where we kind of say have the conversations. The best thing I can always say is have the conversation early, because if we can catch something before it's taken at another school, for example, we can recommend against taking that class. So a program you might be in for an associate's, for example, may want you to take a chemistry class. We may not have that chemistry class as part of our requirements. They may have the chemistry or a biology class. Maybe we want that biology class. So while you're still fulfilling the stuff for that associate's, we're choosing the one that works best for SVSU along the way. Okay. So when we're saying on track, we take a maximum of 62 community college credits and a maximum of 93 four-year university credits, or 93 total from all your schools combined. If you're coming in with the 62 credits from a community college and you've been going for 2 years, the chances are likely that you're likely to be in the 2 to 3 year window of finishing.
Okay.
Coming from a university, it can be a bit different, but usually university transfers aren't planned, typically. And usually that involves program change, possibly. So if you're coming from a university, I would say the most that's typically lost is like a semester at best. Okay. And it's just understanding, again, communicating with the advisor, talking to your department chairs, things like that, seeing where we can find some of those lost credits possibly, or making up some credits in the summer, things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice. So I guess the second biggest question is, what are transfers going to get money-wise?
Great question. So we do have transfer scholarships. Our transfer scholarships at SVSU do fall under the donor-funded scholarships. So general rule of thumb, always apply for donor-funded scholarships anyway. Filling out the general application, if you're an incoming transfer student, will auto-match you to all of the incoming transfer student scholarships anyway that they qualify for. Okay. So, for example, a student coming from a community college would be auto-matched to the Wildfire Transfer Scholarship, the Community College Scholarship, the Thompson Scholarship if they have financial need, for example.
okay.
So there's a lot of stuff along the way that they would be auto-matched to. They're also typically eligible for a lot of financial aid that most students are eligible for. So the Saginaw Valley Opportunity Grant that a lot of students are eligible for would also apply to transfers. If transfers were receiving the Michigan Achievement Scholarship at another school,
Yeah.
Michigan Achievement would apply, federal, Pell,
Okay.
all of that stuff. There's only a few that transfers don't qualify for.
Yeah.
Again, I'll beat this drum forever.
Yeah.
Have the conversation with financial aid.
Yeah.
Of what would come over, have a conversation with me from what we've experienced. And the best thing you can always do is send that FAFSA early too.
Yeah.
Because that gives them clarification early. We can always talk about more scholarships if we need to find something along the way. But typically speaking, transfer students have been covered by other aid
Yeah.
along the way.
And I don't think transfers don't get the merits either.
They don't get freshman merit scholarships, no. So the only situation where that comes into play is the Cardinal Come Home.
Okay.
Where a student, if they are gone for a semester, and does come back within one. So say you went to another school for the fall semester and you came back for the winter, we waive one semester of the freshman scholarship, but you would get it for 7 semesters instead of 8.
Are there any, I guess, going on the Cardinal Come Home?
Yeah.
Are there any, requirements or, something that won't, let you get it?
Not typically.
Okay.
Not typically. So there used to be that you had to have been packaged as a freshman.
Okay.
That's no longer the case because it's still your freshman financial aid FAFSA package. There may be a bit more conversations that need to happen to
Yeah.
clarify, but generally speaking, as long as you have that conversation with financial aid, have that conversation with us in admissions that you've only been gone for a semester,
Okay.
that shouldn't be a problem whatsoever.
Okay. And then kind of about housing. Do transfer students get housing on campus?
Yeah, absolutely. So transfer students typically, painting with a broad brush here, tend to come in as sophomores and higher. So they tend to come into returner housing. So
Okay.
they tend to be in stuff like Pine Grove, UVs, all that kind of thing. Only scenario where it's a little different is if a student is in that freshman
Yeah.
window where they would come in and still be in first year suites, for example. But yeah, transfers are eligible for housing. Transfers are also eligible for any term. So they can come in for fall, winter, spring, summer. So they're looking for housing for any of those. It would still be available for them.
Okay.
No, they're eligible to apply for their housing contract just like any other student.
Okay.
Nice. And then so kind of after the whole scholarships, now we're talking about getting into classes and orientation. It is very different from the freshman
It is.
process.
Yeah.
So what is or exactly process
Yeah.
break it down?
Absolutely. So if you guys have already talked about freshman orientation with SOAR and everything,
Yeah.
so transfer orientation, because students have already been through a college orientation before, we try to ease it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's called now express orientation for us.
Okay.
So it's a one-on-one virtual appointment with an academic advisor.
Okay.
We basically cut a lot of the intro to college stuff that comes with the SOAR
Yeah.
and basically break it down into registering for classes.
Okay.
That's the meat and potatoes of it at that point.
Yeah.
It is different from a little bit of a standard advising appointment. They'll cover some stuff on financial aid. They'll cover some the campus map, things like that. So a lot of stuff that would be some intro stuff that's vitally necessary to know, but we don't need to teach you what student life is. You've experienced it at another college before. So as we're going through that typically happens during the semester before they come over.
Yeah.
So for example, if a student is coming in for the fall, express orientation happens in March and April to start.
Okay.
It goes throughout the summer, but we always recommend the earlier you can get your appointment, the better. It's picking your classes. So you want the best choices you could possibly get, whether that's choosing the class you need or choosing the 10 a.m. over the 8 a.m.
So going into off of that, so when would you advise transfer students to register for their classes?
As soon as you can. As soon as you can. So typically speaking, if for that fall orientation example again, if I send out a message that orientation appointments are able to be registered for on March 1st, you should be signing up on March 1st.
Yeah.
Again, there's ones throughout the summer you've got time to handle it. So if you start your process a little after, that's not a problem. But for best case scenario situations, you're going to want that March 1st. Actual appointments typically would start mid-March, late March for actual sign up though.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So I know that you handle late reg.
Yes.
So yes, obviously we advise everybody to get their stuff done as soon as they can. But if you decide at the end of the semester, hey, maybe my college is not the best for me, maybe I want to move, how do people go along with the late registration process?
So very, very simple. So you contact the admissions office,
Yeah.
you get sent to me. So
Yeah.
we set up a manual appointment instead of going through the registration process that orientation would have at that point. It's never too late to sign up for SVSU. I'll rephrase that. It is sometimes too late to sign up for SVSU,
Yeah.
but it's usually if there's a week or two into classes at that point. At that point, that's when I start having conversations with students and saying, hey, you're going to owe like half of your tuition right now.
Yeah.
And you're a week behind in classes. It might be better to just move to the next semester. We would
Yeah.
maintain your admission status. We go from there. I run the orientation appointments just like the orientation advisors would. I work with them closely to make sure schedules are all set, and we go from there. I would never recommend to somebody do a late reg because I'm not an academic advisor.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it happens. So I'll give you an example. When I have a late reg student, it would typically be, I didn't tour the school I went to. I'm in a dorm with 8 more people than I anticipated being in.
Yeah.
And it's the first week of classes and I'm panicking and I'd like to come home. At that point, we say, absolutely, let's get you in something. It might not be your ideal schedule, but it's something. And we can get you going.
Okay.
So we make it work as best we can. And thankfully, everybody kind of understands the situation we're in typically. But it's just understanding kind of what's going on at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What career like opportunities do like transfers have? Like with their, like internships and stuff like that?
Yeah. So honestly, it's very similar to everybody else.
Okay.
The thing that I always stress kind of with transfer students is all of the resources and opportunities that a student coming in at 18 would have, a student coming in at 20 or a student coming in at 40 or a student coming in at 60
Yeah.
also has. It's just understanding how to get to them that might be a little different. So
Yeah.
at things like SOAR, you guys went through having all these different things kind of put in front of you. Kind
Yeah.
of the plate was served to you. Whereas for transfer students, a lot of it is, well, you've been through college already. You kind of know where to go.
Yeah.
You kind of have to seek it out a little bit different yourself. That's not to say that the resources aren't there. The resources don't want to be in front of you.
Yeah.
They just need to be found a little more. So what we're going through, like things like internships, I always recommend working with a department chair, working with professors, working with the career services office, my former office, the Shawano Career Services. They'll help with things like your resume, cover letter, statement of purpose if you're going to grad school.
Yeah.
They can help you find a position that's working for you.
Okay.
So as we kind of go through that stuff, I just recommend that your first semester, meet with them, have a conversation, get that resume built,
Yeah.
go to the career fairs, get that stuff going, and utilize the services that other students have been using.
Okay. So like with that, because like these students are coming in freshly to SVSU, like
Yeah.
they haven't had that connection built. They're going on like possibly being 21 coming in SVSU.
Yeah.
Would you say the transfer is harder for those students who are older, or would it be easier for them to transfer when they're younger?
So it varies, honestly, depending on the student. I can tell you from my experience, I transferred in, I'm going to put a major caveat on mine immediately. I transferred in as COVID started. So kind of as we got through that, I made the big mistake of not joining anything.
Okay.
I was a local student. I commuted. I'm a very talkative person. I have a communications degree.
Okay.
I would put my headphones in and walk to my car and go home.
Oh.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
Big mistake. The best thing you can do is join at least one thing.
Yeah.
I thankfully had friends that already went here. So I had people to have lunch with. I had people that I was in class with. It made it easier during a weird time for everybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes it hard for... There's a feeling for transfers sometimes that they feel like they're coming in behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And so with that, it just requires that extra intentional step. So going to things like Red Pride Picnic, going to an induction night for any RSO or anything like that, going to any sport, literally any sport, there will be students there.
Yeah.
Is just the first step that a student needs to take, because that's how you make friends that tell you, oh, this is a class I really liked as an elective. Oh, this is when the deadline always is for financial aid. This is yada, 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 whatever it may be. I always recommend kind of taking that intentional step. Because for transfers, a lot of stuff like we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that's kind of put out in front of you, isn't quite there when you're coming in at 21. You might be living off campus. You might not see it as frequently as a student who's lived here for 3 years has. there's just a lack of experience. And that's okay. It's just a learning curve that needs to happen. But you guys, I'm sure, have transfer student friends. You might not even know that they're transfers.
Yeah.
It just happens as you go because they're in your classes. They're in everything that happens on campus, transfer students are involved in.
Yeah.
It's just they blend in very quickly.
Okay. So like they're not gonna feel like outsiders compared to people who are here.
Yeah.
Once they start getting involved.
Exactly. And again, it's just that taking that intentional step to get involved because you can be me and be dumb, just do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Even if it's an RSO that meets once a month, that step is very, very important for resume, for friends, for classes, anything.
Yeah, like 2 of my sorority sisters, they were transfers as well. And they were talking about how like when they joined in, they were super grateful that they joined ASA because it helped them make friends when you don't know anybody coming in here.
Exactly.
Even if you're local or not local. Like one of them is like literally from Auburn, Autumn.
Yeah.
And then another one is from downstate. And like they're like super grateful that they did join something. So they had something to go to.
Yeah.
Right. And I have friends that were in stuff while I was here that are still part of the thing. So Amanda, that you guys had on earlier, joined Lambda Pi Eta the semester after I graduated and made 3 friends out of it that we're still friends with today.
That's awesome.
Because it just, again, that intentional step to go actually do something.
Yeah.
And it's paid off big time for both of us.
Nice. So we did actually ask on the SVSU Cardinals page to get advice from transfer
Let's
students.
hear it.
So we're gonna read some of them actually.
Okay.
So one of them was making sure like you make new friends and you're putting yourself out there. I feel like that's what we emphasize, not even just as a transfer, but as a freshman too.
That's a general rule of thumb. Go make friends.
Go make friends. Don't hide out in your dorm.
Yeah.
I know it's easier said than done, but you'll feel so much better along the way. Getting help with resources on campus, they help so much, such as like resources as like whether it's career services with the whole resume thing or like Panhellenic or Student Life or like I think any of our resources. Tutoring center,
Yeah.
All that stuff.
There's also be open to new experiences. Like give it time because it's a major adjustment, but it's gonna be okay because like you're going freshly into a new big university. Like let's say you went to Delta, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So like you're going from like a smaller community college and you're gonna be thrown into a big university. So like it takes time, but it's gonna be okay.
Right, and to speak from experience on that, like part of why I didn't do stuff is I didn't do stuff over there.
Yeah.
And that's not I loved my time over at Delta, but it's not designed to have that student life experience. No one lives there.
Yeah.
So people they commute, go to class. There's student life engagement. There's clubs. There's organizations. There's great stuff that they do over there, but it's not meeting as frequently as things where people actually live on the campus.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I got involved with some of the stuff with the theater. I got involved with a few things with the astronomy club. Like I did my best over there, but at the same time, they didn't meet very frequently.
Yeah.
So as we're going with that, some of the stuff like you talked about Panhellenic.
Yeah.
You guys live together.
Yes.
it's making those friends and getting those experiences that some places just are built differently by design. So yeah, absolutely. That's a great point.
And then also one of them was like within the first few weeks of the semester, making sure you're going to like events and making those connections and getting freebies because the first week of classes or like move in, like you're going to get so much free stuff. Making sure like you're going there and getting that free stuff.
I live
Just
on
like
freebies.
Yes.
So during Red Pride Picnic you brought up earlier, like there are close to 100 tables sitting out there, and we all give out like pamphlets,
all do that stuff.
bracelets, shirts.
Program work goes all out. They gave out like free tote bags like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then like a lot of them just give out like free pens or like stickers, stuff like that. Get those things.
If you're not walking away with a free T-shirt within your first 2 weeks from something, you're doing it wrong. Like honestly, like
That's very true.
Does not matter
if
what
you need an
kind of
SVSU T-shirt, just walk around, and you'll find one eventually.
Also, making sure like you have even if you don't live on campus, just making sure you're having good communication with like this one says your RA. So like making sure you're having good communication with them and like asking any questions that you may have. Like if you have like an inkling of a question, ask it to somebody because like you don't want to go you don't want to go around like having your questions unanswered because then it's just like, oh, maybe I should have asked that. Oh, like now I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do next?
Can I throw some data out at you?
What? Oh dear
So
God.
throw it out for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Office hours for your professor.
Yes.
There's a Harvard study that students that attended their office hours for a professor at least twice have an average grade one letter higher than the average.
Start going to those.
For example, if you
And you
have,
start going to office hours.
exactly, if you have a B, if you go to office hours twice, you're more than likely to have an A. If you have a C, to a B, whatever it may be.
We have to go to office hours.
Part of that, exactly, right? It's a good time. Part of that is understanding the material.
Yeah.
And part of that is the professor understanding your work.
Yeah.
So say you're in an English class. A lot of English work, not necessarily quality is subjective, but the topics can be subjective occasionally.
Okay.
So professor understands your point of view, where you're coming from. It goes a long way. It's just providing more information basically. So office hours can do wonders for helping a student's just academic prowess basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. On our next episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about the transition. Now, we talked about being a transfer student, but not a lot of people know about the transition from being a high school student to being a college student. We're going to be talking about all of that and everything in between. And, well, have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.